Join us today and learn how to take the first steps towards taking charge of your health and fitness by starting a running program. Thanks so much for tuning into Second Act TV. I am so happy to have one of my running buddies on the show today. Chris, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Soka. Glad to be here.
Yeah. Chris, you might have seen him on some previous episodes of Second Act TV. He's been very helpful to our program in many ways. But the reason we're talking to Chris today is because we are starting our virtual running club, our Second Act virtual running club. Chris, along with a handful of other people that I met when I started my new life in California, is really a shining example of what running can do in somebody's life. You started running again seriously after you had a heart attack.
Yeah, back in 2006, I ran in high school and college competitively, but I took a very long break and gained a lot of weight, raised a family, and made all the wrong health choices. So I had a heart attack. Your body will eventually tell you when you're doing things wrong. I left the hospital and literally came home and started walking. And that was in July 2006. And in November of 2006, I completed my first 5K race, and then by 2008, I ran my first full marathon.
Yeah, and you've been doing marathons, and you've run New York, and you're incredible. And I can't even, talking to you now, I can't even imagine you overweight and a heart attack. That's why I really love your story, and why I wanted to have you on here as we launch the running club, because there's a lot of people out there in your shoes and maybe don't know what to do or have the courage to start. And it is somewhat courageous. Let's talk about that.
The first step's always the hardest, for sure. I think about my sister-in-law who just turned 60 a few months ago, and I remember pushing her around Walt Disney World in a wheelchair, and she had just had fusion surgery and discs in her neck. And, somebody who you could almost feel her winding her life down. And she made a decision one day to start, ran as far as she could, which she told me wasn't very far, a quarter mile. And now she's run literally probably 100 half marathons.
That's crazy.
And including a 10K half marathon double every year that occurs in Disneyland out in California, which I'll join her for this year. And she's at 60, she continues to get faster, continues to be motivated. Her doctor actually was amazed because she had, whenever you have surgery like this, you have osteoporosis, and it becomes very advanced very quickly. And it's actually reversed itself because of her fitness. And the thing is that I'm certain she would have benefited from a running group like the one you're starting, because she didn't, at first she didn't even know how to basically get going. And the decision was made that she was going to improve her fitness and turn her life around, but she didn't have any kind of direction through which to go.
Well, we want to provide both direction, how to do it, but also break down the myths as to why, or that you can, I should say. So many people think they can't do it, that they're too old, or that it'll hurt their joints or their knees, that it's bad for you, and that just isn't true. There is a very safe way to do it that will actually help your joints versus hurt them, correct?
I agree with you completely. The first thing people say to me all the time is when you run is like, oh, that's really bad for your knees.
Right.
The truth is, and you know this, is that it's actually better for your knees than not running. When you talk about starting, people say, well, I'm overweight. Well, guess what? Walk then.
Yes.
Or run a little bit.
Well, and that's what we're encouraging. We're actually calling it our inaugural run is a 5K virtual run walk. And the thing is, every runner I know has a story as to why they run, what it's done for them. It truly is just so inspirational to hear the stories, not of the elite athletes. And I say this a lot. And my friend Cindy, she said it very profoundly in an interview we did with her, Cindy, who you know, of course, is that forget about the people that come across the finish line first or second. Look at the ones that come in last or the last group. Those are amazing stories.
It's quite a community. And, the people that are middle or last, whatever, they've defeated some things too. They've defeated their fear of starting. They've defeated, some health issues. They've defeated type 2 diabetes. They've defeated all these things. Isn't that a better victory when you think about it in the long run?
Absolutely. There's a lot of people that might be on the fence, or they hear us talk and go, "Oh God, how can you enjoy running?" I mean, what do you say to somebody that thinks that they can't or are too old to run?
First of all, that's the thing. You're never too old to run. There's people that are 100 years old that still do it.
Yep.
And if I can do it, anybody can do it. I left the hospital and literally came home and started walking. And perhaps maybe you don't run at first. Perhaps you walk at first, and then as you get used to it, you'll naturally migrate into moving faster. It's just the way we're built. And the one thing I can point out is that it does not matter how old you are. It doesn't matter your level of fitness. It doesn't matter if you've ever run or participated in a sport ever in your life. Just get out there. There's a much smaller barrier to running than people think.
Yeah.
They all think that and the one thing that is really a misnomer is that people think, well, look at all these people. They're athletic. They're running. They're fit. I'm not fit. I'm not athletic. I'm not going to do that. I'll embarrass myself. The reality is that every single person, almost without fail, that starts felt the same way.
Yeah.
And then you realize, guess what? We're just ordinary people that spend our Saturday mornings running instead of sitting on a couch or sleeping in.
Exactly.
And
well, Chris, thank you so much. Our time is kind of coming to an end quickly here already. But what are the biggest words of encouragement that you can give to someone to get, that we can do it?
I'll give three small pieces of advice. One, don't be afraid. Two, get a buddy. If two is always better than one.
Yeah.
And three, and probably the most important thing is don't put too high goals for yourself right away.
Make
just
realistic goals.
Yeah, just start.
Mm-hmm.
You say my goal today is run a quarter mile, maybe an eighth of a mile, a half mile, a mile after that. But don't get overwhelmed by having to do something faster or better or anything else, because it's really not about that.
Chris, thank you again for joining in this conversation and helping me kick off the Second Act Runners Club. And I'm really going to look forward to you chiming in. And one thing that I want to close with is to let people know, we really care about how you do. And we want to hear your stories and your success stories. And we look forward to the posts. And we look forward to seeing you on another episode of Second Act TV. Chris, thanks for joining me.
My pleasure.
Okay. I hope you found today's discussion helpful and that you'll join us at the Second Act Runners Club. Please visit our website for more information. That's secondact.tv. And please be sure to subscribe to our program. The button's right here. See you out on the trails.